to global aspirations. Let's give him a huge applause.
That's a nice audience we have. Thank you for waiting so long. Okay, let's start. You know, when people ask me, where you're from, I smile, but my heart fills with 1,000 memories. Because I come from a small village in Uzbekistan, not the kind you see on postcards. You know, no universities, no subways, you know, not even a traffic light. Just the countless cotton fields, the earthy scent of soil, and the hands of hardworking people who wake up before the sun and rest long after it sets. That's where I come from. You know, even as a child, I learned to farm, carrying buckets heavier than my body, working in the fields under the unrelenting sun, and feeding animals. In this place, you know, people usually survive, but rarely dream. Where people face two possible life opportunities: either becoming a farmer or a migrant worker. You know, as a matter of fact, in 2023, more than 2 million Uzbek immigrants worked overseas. But something was pushing me toward a third way. You know, even as a child, I wanted something more, not for myself, but for people surrounding me. You know, I dreamed of education, of serving others, of giving back to the very soil that raised me. You know, it's interesting. You know, in Uzbekistan, less than 4 in 10 people going to a higher education institution. And from the places I come from, it's even less. You know, only 18% of high school graduates from rural areas sit for an entrance exam for universities, and only half could barely pass. That's why, unlike anyone in my family, I enrolled into a Russian school without knowing a single word in Russian. I remember sitting in classes, silent, confused, feeling like a shadow. Every word was foreign, every day a struggle. Later, I transferred to the best school in the town. After 2 years, qualified to the top class. No, not because of money, no. Not because of connections, but because I fought for it. While others tried to buy their way through as gifts and other things, no. I had to spend my entire summer over my textbooks, while other kids enjoyed, played, relaxed. I was with my textbooks, just to earn that very seat. In my first day, my father took me to the school. I didn't wear fancy clothes, no, because I didn't have one. And the principal overlooked me, like I didn't exist. I remember the pain in my father's eyes. He didn't say anything, but I saw it. And something inside changed. But after 4 years, when he came back, now everything was different. I'd become the leader of a 2,000 student school. Everyone, students, teachers, even the principal knew my name. And although my father didn't say anything, the way he looked at me, it was truly special. As if he was saying, I'll carry this pride for the rest of my life. During my high school, I didn't want to raise myself. I wanted to change the lives of others as well. That's why I gathered around 50 students, MCs, dancers, singers, actors, and formed a performance group. I taught them, encouraged them, gave them a stage. I remember practicing late into the evenings, not because of fame, not because of money, but simply to build confidence, community, creativity in a place where such things were rare. And that particular group, which was called UW, became the symbol of what was possible, of what one single student could spark of when given a chance. Consequently, I made a decision that was almost unthinkable for someone like me. I told myself, I will study abroad. I applied myself to studying English with my friends by my side. An old phone, scribbled notebooks, and face. Every single day without pausing. And then, a moment that still feels like a miracle. Professors from a prestigious Korean university came to our town. To a town where no one even from the capital ever visited. You know, even today, that remains the only occasion where such thing has happened. Among 70 top students from different schools, I stood feeling so unconfident, shaky knees, you know, with uncontrollable voice. I was like standing a little guy. But surprisingly, out of all of them, only 2 passed. It was me and my friend. Then, I should have been over the moon, and I was for a while. But life had different plans for me. Shortly before that, my grandfather passed away. The person who was my biggest supporter. The person who let me choose the third way. The person who was the cornerstone of our enormous family left us. Everyone was overwhelmed with grief. And when I called my father to share the good news, hoping for joy, for congratulations, he just dejectedly said, "Okay, no congratulations, no celebration, just okay." Yet another obstacle arose. The university I applied for was Christian, and I am a Muslim. And from a village I come from, this isn't just complicated. It could be dangerous, because I knew people would start to speculate, why a Muslim boy going there? Is he changing his beliefs? Yes, I was proud, but terrified. Not for myself, but for my parents. Because I know they already endured so much, and now they may face judgment simply for supporting their own son. In fact, this is borne out by research. About 40% of families are afraid of community backlash when sending their children into a foreign institution of different faiths. That was the things were happening, and I thought things couldn't possibly get harder. In reality, they did. My visa was rejected. There was a time when everything crumbled into nothing. The whispers began. Things like, he never got into. He's just making up the entire story. This little guy is afraid of passing Uzbek exams. And so many other things. And slowly, I saw the doubt creep into the people who loved me most. Yes, they wouldn't say it out loud, but in their eyes, I saw it. Those 2 months were like hell. My family hung their heads in the streets, and I had to carry the unbearable weight of knowing that, maybe, just maybe, they are starting to lose faith in me too. But I didn't give up, no. I simply couldn't give up. Even if the entire world was against me, I had to stand, I had to believe, and I had to go. After 2 months, my visa arrived. But by then, I was already 3 weeks late into my first semester in Korea. Without any money, any scholarship, without any friends, going to a 7,000 kilometers away from a completely different environment. I stepped into the unknown. And when I arrived, there was no celebration. Not at all. Just the harsh reality of having no money. Some days I had to count every single coin, every bill, simply to survive. Some days I made do with rice and water, going to sleep hungry. Delicious food, that was a dream at that time, not dinner. Imagine living in one of the most advanced countries in the world and experiencing all of this. In fact, I'm not alone in this. According to UNDP research from 2022, 25% of international students feel food insecurities. And fewer than 10% were in my shoes. I had to put up a brave face and keep up my appearances. Working over 43 hours a week without a single day break for 2.5 years. Doing anything I possibly could do. Cleaning, teaching, washing the dishes, translating, anything that could pay my bills for food and education. There were days I really wanted to quit. There were nights I fell asleep on my textbooks. But something inside me was telling me, keep going. Years later, the same village boy who once sat in silence, who was ashamed, who was overlooked, became the president of international student community. First in South Korea, now even in Japan. Not as a survivor, nah. Not as a simple student, no. But a leader. Everything is different now. Currently, I'm doing my master's in Japan, still self-financing, still having no scholarship, and being not sure if I could pay my next semester's tuition. Still dreaming, but now something is different. Now I carry a mission. Because I know that somewhere in some distant village, there is a little boy with big dreams, as mine once were. And there is no one to tell to that child that it is matter. That world will be waiting, that world will be supporting. To that very child, I want to say, yes, your dream is valid. Yes, your voice matters. Yes, the world is waiting for you too. I no longer dream alone, because in this globalized world, I'm the bridge, the first one in my entire family to show that, that the third way is not a myth. The first one who crossed the oceans for an education, that a little kid from the cotton fields can grow into a man who will lift others with him up. That's why I found my online academy. That's why I mentor others. Not because I made it, no, not at all. But because I'm still making it. And I refuse to close the doors. If you remember nothing else from my story, other parts, it doesn't matter. Remember this. You are not your silence. You are not your scars. You are not the doubts they made you feel. You are the artist the author, the flame. So rise, shine, speak, and let the entire world know that even from the quietest of villages, a voice can rise so loud that will bright up the ways for others. I am with you, remember this. I believe in you. You can do it. And that is what I gained. Not just a future for myself, but the power to change the future for others. Thank you.